Hey, it's Eric Reed with Cooked with Eric Reed. Introduce myself. What the fuck am I saying? I don't know.
Just say welcome into Cooked with Eric.
Today, Eric Reed is here with Eric Reed. Oh, shit.
Let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook now.
Cooked with Eric Reed and Midwest Professional Reps. Here's your host, Eric Reed.
Hey, welcome to Cooked with Eric Reed. Today we've got a bonus guest. We got a couple extra people. It's great. Chad got to join us in the studio today. So he's going to be sharing in on the conversation. Woo, Chad! And then we've got Stuart Powell with Cookshack, who is joining us today as well. And then all of the extra audience in the back today. So Zach and Pat coming in with Image Communications. They're the guys that run this for us. And Sam's in today as well, yeah. This is the first podcast Sam sat in on of ours. So.
I guess he's ever not been talking, too.
Is it painful, Sam? But no, it's great to be in here. We've got a good show today to share with everybody. Talk about barbecue, talk about smokers, different products and stuff we've seen come through them, and just have a great time sharing some information with Stuart and learning even more about the industry and about barbecue. Stuart is the president of Cookshack. Stuart, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and we can kick off with that.
Perfect.
Cool.
You know, the good side of that is I'm so full of shit that it won't matter.
That's what I love. That's why we do these things. That's why we do them.
It ends up great.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're rolling. You can start.
Oh, good. We are rolling. So we got that on hot mic. That's great.
Perfect.
Let's just move the microphone over in front of you a little bit so that you can tell that you're in front of the microphone for the shot. And then there's Chad. Chad's just always looking good. Stuart coming in.
He just looks old.
Perfect. Okay. So, I mean, why are we here? This is, what are we doing? Let's go. Tell me what.
What are we even doing here?
Seriously.
God.
I'm like, we got 2 shoots today, full day with NPR.
Yeah, we're having a great time today. Yeah, and we're here to talk about, barbecue, smokers. Have a chat with Stuart from Cookshack. And at that point, Stuart, I'm going to kick it over to you and let you give a brief introduction about yourself and a short little, pitch on what it is you do.
Sure. So, Stuart Powell, Cookshack Incorporated, and as of today, I'm the president and CEO. Some days I'm out in the back working as a janitor, so you just got to kind of take whatever you get. I've been doing this for 35 years, and Cookshack manufactures both commercial and residential smokers, so we always have kind of a mix of things going on. But our main customer is the restaurant world, and that's obviously how we know NPR, and love having you guys represent us in your territory. So, I got started in this thing kind of in a weird way because I moved to Ponca City, Oklahoma in 1980 to work contract engineering work for Conoco. Back then, this was Conoco's headquarters, a booming town, and 5 years later, DuPont was owner, and they didn't like us contract engineering people, so and so I was out of a job and went to work for a little company that made central vacuum cleaners here in town, and then ended up meeting the owners of Cookshack, and their parents had passed away in 1985 in a boating accident, and so in 1991 they hired me to manage the business for them, and it's been an interesting ride ever since. 1999 I purchased part of it, and but still, I almost have majority shares, but it's still pretty much so owned by the original family. So, which is kind of nice.
Has it always been in Ponca City from the very start?
Well, if you want the honest truth, it started in Red Rock, Oklahoma. which is about 15 miles south of Ponca City. But they, so back in the early 60s, it's kind of interesting. Gene Ellis, I have a smoker that he made in 1958. And that smoker's in a museum down in Oklahoma City. So he started back then. He had a farm down in Red Rock. He was kind of an inventor kind of guy. Kind of did a lot of different things. In the 1963, they incorporated the business, and they called it process engineering, and they were doing both the Cookshack smokers, but he was also making some grain mills and that kind of stuff. And so anyway, that kind of just he kind of dinked around with it, to be honest with you, till the early 70s. And I think he had a grain mill that he had blow up. And anyway, decided to get out of that business. And
Wonder why.
and really, really went full time into the smokers. And so that's, I always say we started in 63 and trace us back to 58, but it was about 72 when they really got, Cookshack rolling. They changed the name to Cookshack in the early 80s. And
What was it?
So
What was the name?
it was process engineering. I mean, they always had the trade name of Cookshack, but the business itself was process engineering. So anyway, that is where we got to. When I started in 1991, they were a little bitty company. We had about 12 employees. We were doing less than $1 million a year in sales, and we've grown it from there. So it's been a fun ride for me. We focused heavily in my early days here. We focused really heavily on getting our residential products going, because that was fairly new to us when I got here. And then in the about the mid 90s, I really decided we needed to focus heavier on our commercial line, and I started looking for a way to make a rotating rack smoker, because I felt like we were not as competitive as we needed to be. So
Nice. Would you? I had a question that's what's something you implemented in your early years at Cookshack that continues to advance the success of Cookshack? But I think you just answered that. Would you say that that's fairly accurate? That
I would say
that getting
so.
into that market.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting into that market was huge. Also, I mean, about 94 or 95, I implemented lean manufacturing here, which really changed our whole manufacturing process and really changed how we went, do business. So that's been a really good thing for us.
Nice.
How many people are there, Stuart?
So currently we have 21 employees. I can tell you that 4 years ago we had 50. So that's what the post-COVID hangover's done to us.
Yeah, and I think everybody's seen that. We've seen that go across so many industries as well, that people shuffled jobs, moved around, changed careers, retired earlier as soon as they possibly could. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody that things are a little lighter.
Well, and we were on a big trajectory up when COVID hit, and we really had too many people, but we had added people to, so that we had the stuff we needed in space to try to double our business. And our trajectory was to go, we were at about 10 million in sales then, was to go to 20 million, within a couple of years. And so we were really a little heavy on staff anyway, but like I say, then we kind of had the COVID hangover, and we're just now starting to see it kind of coming back.
Man, nice. After your 30 plus years in this industry, and especially around barbecue, what do you think people still get wrong about barbecue?
Wow.
And yeah.
That's a loaded question.
100%.
Yeah, I know. Dude, without throwing any specific customers under the bus. Just don't eat there.
Exactly. You know what I think? What I see most is that, and this is both restaurateurs and residential people, is they don't understand yield, and they don't understand that if you don't have good yield, you really don't have good barbecue. And yet, I see people just, you know, they'll be like, "What is yield? What do you mean yield?" So
I don't have to worry about shrinkage at all, right? I bought a
exactly.
20-pound brisket and it's going to come out at 20 pounds.
Yeah.
No.
I will never forget, and this was pretty early in my career. I probably like about 92 or 93. I was at Sizzler International out in LA, and this was back when they had 250 restaurants. And we were talking about, doing beef brisket for them. And I said to him, I said, "Man, have you costed that out?" Because and brisket back then was cheap, but it was still an expensive item to do because brisket, the yield on brisket's just horrible, and they go, "Oh yeah, we've costed it out." And I said, "Well, what'd you put in for shrinkage?" And they go, "Oh, we think that we'll lose about 10 to 15%." And I was like, "Okay, we're talking about the wrong thing."
Yeah.
Wasn't very long after that they went bankrupt, so that might have something to do with that.
See a customer you can talk about.
Actually, they still exist today. They have 30 or 40 restaurants still, I think. So,
Oh, wow.
I think
yeah.
the biggest thing too is the consistency. If barbecue's tough because, especially in a commercial application, you want it to taste the same. You want your people to come every day for lunch, the same people, right? And you want it to taste the same every single time, and not. Speak on that a little.
Not fluctuate.
I was going to say burp it up at 3 o'clock
Oh,
in the
yeah.
afternoon
Yeah.
and it tastes
Yeah.
whatever,
Well,
right? Because it's,
Yeah.
something. It's just,
Well, there's nothing
Stu-
worse than you walk into a restaurant, you take your friend, you walk in the first time and you get a really good meal. So what do? You bring a bunch of your friends, and the second time you go, it's all dried out and horrible. So
right.
Yeah. When I don't know if you've ever got to work with Stuart, like with the customer. There have been a couple times that we've actually had to go solve a problem, and then we get in and watch them actually running the operation. And I think the last time we were somewhere outside of Branson, and I swear Stuart had to teach a mini class on how they should be running their stuff, because as we got in the kitchen and started looking around, we were like, oh no. God. They were, if I remember right, they were mass producing, refrigerating everything to bring it down to temperature, cooling everything, and then portioning, and then reheating portions.
Right.
And so, like pulled pork, they were shredding it all, portioning it out and refrigerating it, and then they were throwing it on a flat top to bring it back up to temperature. And so, yeah, you're depending on the fat breakout, it might work. It might be just fine. You're going to have some parts of it, though, that are dry as can be.
Right.
So,
A lot of steps, too, in that.
yeah.
The efficiency.
I mean, at least they were portioning it. They got that part right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of based the timing of this one on barbecue season, and I think that's more in line with like when people are rolling their grills out at home. They're like, oh man, it's nice outside. I'm gonna break out the grill. I'm gonna break out the smoker and start doing stuff again. Do you believe there really is a barbecue season? Like, do you see a increase in sales at Cookshack around a certain time frame, or?
So
Is it-
yes, we do. I mean, I think there is a barbecue season, especially on the residential side, because just what you said, people start rolling their grills out. People are more interested about being outside, depending on where you live. But obviously, when it's cold, nobody wants to go out. And even if you have a good smoker that's insulated, if it's 20 degrees outside, who wants to go out there and put a brisket in it? So yeah, exactly. Well, I'm the same way because I cook year round. So,
Yeah.
but there definitely is a season to it. Um, but it's more like a grilling season than necessarily a barbecue season.
Gotcha.
And
Well, that would go in line so much with the residential, with the PG series and everything,
yes,
the actual
yeah,
pellet grills.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's
I mean,
interesting that when you say that is that the if you go backwards, 50 years ago, barbecuing was all about slow cooking food, and then that term just got changed to where now when you say barbecuing, people think about they're going out and turning on their gas grill, which
yeah,
gives you
Right.
no flavor, nothing. So yeah, it's kind of a tricky industry anymore.
you would have come over for a barbecue. What are you making? Burgers and hot dogs. What?
Exactly.
No, I totally get it.
I blame the Australians for that because they started doing the shrimp on the Barbie kind of thing. It's like, yeah, that's not
There you go.
enough.
Blame them. It's fine. Somebody else's fault. Have plenty of Fosters on hand. You'll be good.
Exactly.
Oh God, I had to explain that to my kids this past week though, while I was on vacation.
Fosters?
Yeah, we were walking by and there was a big case of Fosters out, and I went Australian for beer, and they both turned and looked at me and went, "What? What do you mean it's Australian for beer?" I was like, "Oh, that was the commercial for years."
Explain it.
Date
Yeah,
yourself.
I had to walk through the whole commercial to them.
Forgot about that commercial.
My brain is full of useless information.
Wait till you get to
Oh
be mine.
man. I can quote entire commercials to you, but I can't remember what somebody's name was. Great, awesome.
Exactly.
So one of the other things that I kind of wanted to get into, and I'm going to try and roughly keep myself on course, but who knows? You and I have talked, and I mean, your biggest thing has always been you've always said one of the hardest sells that you'll have with Cookshack is selling to an actual barbecue establishment. Because they have preconceived notions, they have their ideas of what things should be. So your thought process or your starting point is always like restaurants that aren't necessarily barbecue or other operations where they want to add some smoked flavor, some barbecue dishes to it. How do you think that smokers in general can enhance a restaurant's menu?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about smokers, and especially when you go like into our electric smokers, the interesting thing is that you just can add any kind of flavor you want. So I mean, people always think of smoked meats as, depending on where you're from. Okay, so Oklahoma, we're Big Hickory. Where you guys are at's Big Hickory. You go a little bit west of here, it may be pecan wood. You go south of here, we're talking mesquite. So you have these different flavors of wood that you can use that all give different, flavors to your meat. But what's interesting is that you can do things like garlic, you can do things like cinnamon, and you can put virtually anything in that wood box that will burn and create a flavor out of that. Now, not all of it's good. I will tell you that years ago I decided that coffee smoked something would be really good. Okay, and so I took some actual coffee beans and put them in the wood box, and it was horrible. So, but but it's interesting, So go ahead, Chad. I'm sorry.
I remember you telling me a story. They put like tea leaves and mint, and I think they were cooking. I think duck, if I remember
Yep.
correctly, and they were putting like tea leaves and mint and stuff in there. I always thought that was interesting. I don't
actually
have
have
a
a
taste,
customer
but
up there.
I like the idea.
I have a customer up in Canada that it was a Chinese grocery store chain up there, and the fire marshal came in and shut down their area where they were smoking their chickens and ducks and their woks. because he considered it a fire hazard. And they called me and said, "Can you give me that same flavor?" And I said, "Well, what are you using for the smoke?" And they said, "Oh, we're using rice, brown sugar, and tea leaves." And I said, "Okay, let's put them in the wood box," and it matched the exact flavor they were getting out of their woks. They still buy smokers from me today. Every new store they put in. So
No kidding.
and
That's
that's probably
awesome.
gone
That's
back to
pretty-
the early '90s. So,
You think that saved them time too? I mean, I don't know how they were
absolutely.
batching out their process, so
Yeah, yeah, definitely saved them time, and also they got better yields out of it. So once again, we go back to that
Yeah.
talk. But you
Right.
know, I mean, they were so what was coming off their woks, they could only get about an hour to an hour and a half in a holding cabinet, and it was trash. So if they didn't have them sold, pretty quick, it wasn't worth eating. So we gave them about a 4.5 to 5 hour hold time. So,
man, that fits in well with one of the things that I had in mind was talking about kind of a non-traditional use for a smoker. I mean, that being one of them. I have stuff as simple as a couple of friends that I have run or setting up. I've got another friend setting up sandwich shop where
yep.
they're running sandwiches, but the focus of the proteins is smoked. They're not classifying themselves as a barbecue restaurant. They're not doing ribs. They're not doing pulled pork on stuff. But they're proteins that they're serving that are going into the sandwiches. They run through the smoker. And one of the cool things that he would do, he couldn't have it on the menu at all times because it took so much effort and it took so much of the smoker. But he, once a week, I think it was Tuesdays, would always do smoked burger day. And like par smoke a bunch of burgers and then finish them to order. And it was,
I'm hungry.
oh man, they were amazing.
I was gonna say it's lunchtime. Where's
Goodness
DoorDash?
gracious, talking about barbecue and food and smoked hamburgers, man, golly.
What other kind of things have you seen?
Well, Eric, to back
Oh,
on
yeah.
you though, the cheese, like cold smoking cheese
Oh, yeah.
and sausages, I think that would be cool for your sandwich place too.
Yep.
And another way to use the smoker in a fun way.
Yeah, what other kind of fun, different uses have you seen? More non-traditional.
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to smoke is prime rib, and rather than put any wood in the wood box, I use fresh twigs of rosemary. So I actually take the fresh twigs of rosemary and pull the leaves off of them, crush those with some black, coarse ground black pepper and some sea salt. Put that on the outside of the rib, and then take the twigs of rosemary that are left, throw those in the wood box, and smoke with that. And it's a very distinct, really good flavor. So, and you can use. I use that also. I use that kind of same recipe to do legs of lamb. So,
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
How much
Yeah,
rosemary
yeah.
do you go through? How much does that take?
oh, not that much. I mean, if you're doing just one full loin, it's about 3 little twigs.
Oh wow.
That's it, huh?
Well, and I guess
Yeah.
on those electrics, it traps everything
Yeah.
in there so well that
Didn't think about it.
that's
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but I have. So when I first started, when we first picked you guys up, I was still running an offset barrel smoker, and we grabbed at training an SM45,
Yep.
and it lives on my back porch now, and I pretty much only use it, and I tell people all the time that I cheat. When they have stuff, I'm like, because I don't have to go take care of the fire. I don't have to worry about anything. My wife loves it, I will say, because when I was running that offset, she was like, it's like at least once an hour. You're walking back outside, checking your fire, maintaining it, checking your temperature, going through everything. And it
Drinking a
drove her
beer.
nuts. Yeah, it drove her nuts because like I couldn't sit still. And yeah, it's like, well, I'm out here. I'll grab another beer. And now I'm like, yeah, no, that's fine. I'll throw something on the Cookshack. We can go take care of X, Y, and Z. I'll come home and I'll unload it. I've used it for holidays
Yeah.
with the family. I think my favorite was one year we usually try to break things out and use different days for like Thanksgiving and stuff. And one year it just happened that we had lunch at one house and dinner at the other. And I was legitimately able to, like, right before we left for the first meal for the lunch, put the second turkey on, and we left.
Perfect.
And it was great too, because it was a great excuse to be like, oh, Mom, don't listen to this, but to be like, we gotta go. I gotta go get a turkey off.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah,
one
I
of
know.
my
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom.
one of my favorite stories of cooking unique stuff was this was back in the early 2000s. I was up in Toronto at a trade show, and I sold this little convention center, a SM260. And anyway, we shipped it, and I get a call from their chef, and he'd just gotten the unit, and he goes, "Hey, I need you to tell me how to cook ostrich, because I have a $500 a plate meal tonight, charity meal that I have to do." And I'm like,
Tonight.
I don't even know what an ostrich is.
I don't even think you can YouTube that. They don't either.
Oh, exactly. So anyway, but yeah, I made it up. I said, "Oh, I'd do it just like this." And he calls me back the next day and goes, "Man, that was so successful." He said, "You saved my career." I was like, "Okay."
Ostrich.
Oh
Like-
man,
Yes, I can guess.
I have that leads really well to the last part of this section that I had, and it's if a restaurant wanted to add one new item, out of their smoker, and we're not talking barbecue restaurant, just a everyday restaurant, having seen so many different items come out of it and seen what's successful, if they came to you and said, "Hey, I need something that's tried and true, you've seen this be successful elsewhere, what would you suggest?"
Probably one of my favorites is smoked salmon, because I mean, it's such a great product, turns out so well, it's easy, and it holds up well, So it's probably one of my favorites to throw out there is, something to do, that you don't see every day in every restaurant. So,
Nice. Do you care hot or cold, hot smoked, cold smoked?
I mean, I prefer hot smoke just because, from a restaurant standpoint, it's easier. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love lox, and I do lox all the time, but there's a lot of how you want to say it, little iffy things about lox. So
Yeah, your HACCP plan has to be on point when you're doing that. You've got to know what you're doing.
I got a question.
absolutely.
What's his favorite? Maybe not favorite. Like, what's the most underrated cut of meat?
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah.
So Zach threw us a question. What do you think's the most underrated cut of meat?
Probably tri-tip.
Oh,
So
yeah. Tri-tip.
yeah, I mean, it gets cut up so much for cheap steaks, and yet I mean, if you leave them whole and smoke them, it's probably one of the best pieces of meat on the cow.
There, yeah. I love it.
I tell you the other thing, and I think it's still way underrated, but the other thing that's become it's kind of a big thing right now, that I've used for years is chuck roast. And, we're seeing more and more of it used because brisket's gotten so darn expensive.
Expensive.
And, I can make burnt ends out of chuck roast and you'll think it's brisket. I mean, you won't know the difference.
Nice. Gonna have to try that now.
I'm starving.
Did you say most overrated too? You mentioned overrated.
Oh, well, I mean, overrated, especially if we were talking beef. I'm going to piss a lot of people off, and I don't know if Stuart would agree. I'll ask that one next, but I'll piss a lot of people off because I think filet mignon, I think tenderloin is incredibly overrated. It's,
I'm actually, yeah, I agree.
as far as flavor goes,
Great marketing.
it's not, there's not a lot going on. It's an unused piece of the animal.
Why do you think they wrap it in bacon?
Yeah.
Right.
What would yours be though, as far as overrated?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, I think right now beef ribs because
Alright.
they're kind of like fillets. I always have this thing I tell people that call me and ask me how to cook beef ribs. I say I don't care what seasoning you put on them, just throw them in the smoker and turn it on at 250. And I said, then jump in your car and drive down to the grocery store and buy some good pork ribs. Come back, take those beef ribs out and throw them away, and cook those pork ribs.
I've done them a few times, and I always have the problem of like they vary so much of how much actual meat is on them that I've had them that like you get done and it basically looks like there's a sponge attached to the to the bone. There's like almost nothing left and it's hanging and
And you get them sometimes where there's no rib meat left. Maybe we should go the other way. All that's left on them is rib meat, and then you get them somewhere where it's a big chunk of prime rib.
Yeah.
And those cook totally different. So, I
Yep.
just think they're a hard thing to get done right, and yet right now people seem to think they're just the most unique and greatest thing in the world. So, and I'm just like, wow,
Yeah, I agree with you, Stuart. Get pork ribs, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
One, as silly as it is, I use for demos all the time. I'll do chicken quarters or sometimes even just chicken legs,
Yeah.
and I've had people like go crazy about, oh my god, it was so good. What did you do?
Yeah.
I didn't overcook them, and they have plenty of fat in them, and can actually retain moisture.
And we
And-
used Cookshack Champion seasoning.
Oh yeah.
exactly.
But those
Exactly.
always cracked me up though. The legs. I used to threaten when I was still in operations and purchasing all the time. Chicken wings had gotten so expensive, and it drove me absolutely insane because I'm like, there's nothing to a chicken wing anyway. And it was, a scrap cut of meat for years that somebody figured out how to brand correctly.
Yeah.
And I always threatened that I was about to just start doing, instead of like a 6-piece wing meal, do like a 2 chicken leg deal, prepare them the same way, fry them and toss them in whatever sauce you chose. I was like, I don't know how it's going to go over. Somebody may absolutely love it. Somebody may be like, why aren't there wings on the menu though?
Yeah.
But I was so sick of I think at the time we were paying, which isn't crazy, but I think we were paying like $3.50 a pound for chicken wings, and I could get chicken legs for like 80 cents a pound.
Oh, wow.
But think about beef brisket. It used to be that way. You used to be able to buy beef brisket for 89 cents a pound. And it was the throwaway piece of meat. Half the time it got ground up for hamburger.
Yeah, well,
You know?
why? Tons of flavor, but why is it such a traditional barbecue cut? Because you have to cook it forever if it's a whole piece of meat.
Yeah. Yeah. I always
Um,
say it's the hardest of the barbecue meats to cook. I mean, it's to me it takes the most talent to
Yeah, that-
get it right.
That makes sense.
Now they separate it though between the point and the flat.
Yeah.
You can buy it separate. So I think most people are doing that.
Yeah, and I mean,
It
if you
makes
do
it
it
even
that,
harder.
yeah,
Getting that,
yeah, you take
getting that flat cooked right. Yeah.
exactly. But I mean, that's part of competition barbecue, which I know Cookshack has, at least in the past, I assume you still are, periodically teaching a competition barbecue class.
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting world today. I'm not doing much of it anymore, and I still teach. I do a lot of classes still, and I used to do a lot of classes on how to take competition barbecue into your restaurant. And I say that where competition barbecue is today, that's impossible to do. Um, so now I've renamed my class to how to make really good barbecue in your restaurant.
When what what is it that's different about it that you think it makes it impossible to.
Well, so I mean, one of the big things about competition barbecue is that you're cooking for a judge to take one bite of your piece of meat.
Right.
And so you don't care about yields. You don't care about, if you throw the front half of a brisket away because it's dried out, you don't care, you know. Um, and then, so what's happened is that in the competition world is they've gotten where they're cooking real high end cuts. So, if you go compete in a cook off and you're not cooking a Wagyu brisket, you're not going to win, you know.
And
And
those are
yet, who can
expensive. We
afford to
just
put
did
that?
one.
Yeah,
We
who
just
can put
did
that in a
one.
restaurant?
We just did one a couple months ago, and everybody had a Wagyu brisket. Some people had two, and those
Yeah.
things are expensive.
Oh, yeah,
They're
I don't wanna-
great, but they're
I don't want to buy a prime brisket.
and that's the other. Stuart's so right. You're cooking for one judge, and do they like spicy or do they like sweet or do they like mustard? Do they? It's so opinions. You're trying to, and it's almost impossible to.
And you know what they've done to that world is that especially the Kansas City Barbecue Society, and if they're listening, sorry, uh, but they they've gone out and they've trained a whole bunch of judges, and they said this is what barbecue is and this is what barbecue tastes like. And if you don't
Yeah.
follow that exact train of thought, you're not going to win.
Right.
And it's like, well, that was the fun of it before is you could do something a little unique and you might, the judges might actually really love it. And today, if you do something unique, I'll never forget my last cook off September in Ponca City. Okay. I cooked the Ponca City cook off. I did brisket. I put the same rub I've always put on my brisket, Cookshack brisket rub. Okay. And I cooked it, but I bought a choice brisket and I cooked it for 14 hours. Okay. I turned it in, and when I turned it in, I said, "Man, this is one of the better briskets I've cooked." And we've actually finished fifth, which shocked me. Okay, but what really shocked me is I had a judge send in a card that said, "While this is really good, I have no idea what that flavor is." I was like, "Really?" Like that is like garlic and black pepper and paprika and some brown sugar. I mean,
I was gonna say, yeah, there's nothing crazy in that rub.
no, I'm just thinking you don't know what that flavor is. Okay.
We were cooking one time, and the team next to us or something. We ended up being friends and talking to them, and they overdid their ribs, and so you know what they did? They dumped a bunch of sauce on it
Oh yeah.
and turned them in wet, and they doggone scored. They got called.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about when they're trying to impress one judge or one person.
Yeah.
It's so hard, the variables and how they interpret, all the Kansas City barbecue rules. It's tough. Competition's tough.
I mean, I
But
have an
besides-
idea.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
There he comes up. Oh, I was going to say, besides doing, Wagyu briskets, they're also doing Duroc pork. I mean, everything they cook are high end, cuts of meat. And pulled pork now they don't even put pulled pork in the box. Okay. So everybody's cutting the money muscle, what they call the money muscle, off the pork butt, and they're grilling it, and then they're slicing it and saucing it, and they call that pulled pork. And I'm like, that's not pulled pork. There's nothing pulled about that.
Oh man, what and it like I think we've kind of covered some of the conversation that. Or where I have assumptions based on the conversation that we've had already of where this is going to go. But what would you suggest to someone who has been successful on the competition circuit and they decide that they want to open up a restaurant that transition from what would your advice be there and how to make that transition?
So this is a funny story. So a number of years ago, we were starting to do a lot of competition classes, and I would say back then 85% of the barbecue restaurants that popped up were people that were cooking on the competition circuit, and everybody loved their food, so they think, okay, I'm going to open a restaurant. And so we were doing these classes on how to take that in. Well, all of them were asking me for a business class. They were saying, well, we need to know how to figure, cost of goods sold and all those things. And so I added a day in that if they wanted to come and we'd do a business class. And my first question always was, what's your exit strategy? Okay. Now, and I would have people go, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you shouldn't be in business.
Right.
And so, anyway, but I see very, very few restaurants today started off the competition circuit. So that used to be the mainstay. And we used to cook, I used to cook 20 barbecue contests a year to be out there and seeing the people and because that's where a ton of our business was coming from. And that's just gone away because that competition barbecue world, you have to be fairly well off to go cooking. It used to be that, if you wanted to grab a couple guys on a weekend and go cook a contest, if you had a couple $100, you could do that. I don't think you could do a barbecue contest for less than $1,000 today.
Jesus.
You can't. That's how we started, Stuart. We just wanted to
Yeah.
make a camping trip. Got a
Exactly.
camper and some beer, and hey, we're going to do this, and we found some contests and down the Ozarks and did that and had fun, and then it just got to be more and more expensive. Then we started inviting more friends, so we feed them, and yeah, it's $1,000 minimum.
Now it's not just fun, you have to win.
Yeah, you have to win. Clean up sucks after you've had a bunch of beers.
Oh,
You
yeah.
man, it never fails to rain at some point. So
And you think about it, if you really want to win today, the last Wagyu brisket I bought was $250.
yeah,
Jesus.
So if you buy two of those, you got $500 just in the brisket category.
already.
You haven't even touched anything else. You haven't driven there or anything else. You got $500 in. So I don't see very much of it anymore. The people that are doing barbecue restaurants today are typically, people that have been to some sort of school, culinary school, or, and you get a few still that are guys that have cooked in their backyard that go, wow, I think everybody loves my food. I'm going to open a restaurant. I see a lot more of it coming out of catering now where, somebody starts catering out of their house and they're being successful at it, and they've got to have a kitchen because the health department's saying you can't do that out of your house, and so yeah, see
Nice.
a lot more of that today.
Let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook now.
Cooked with Eric Reed and Midwest Professional Reps.